All right, here is our Fusion environment. It's opened up, and let's really get familiar with what Fusion's all about. So if you're not familiar with Fusion, it's a three-dimensional drawing software. We create drawings, much like we did with our project. All right, it was on paper. Now we're going to do a computer version. All right, so here is our drawing area. I have some graph paper, diagonal graph paper to represent, hey, this is going to be a three-dimensional environment. Up here in the upper right hand corner is a cube. It represents how we see our parts that we create. In this particular cube we have a front, right side, and top. We can rotate that and get different angles, if you will, of our parts. And then if we really get kind of crazy and we'll want to get back home, we could click the home button. That's what I do a lot, is hit the home button as we rotate. All right, over here is a browser. This is really nice, and you'll see how we use that, and it will nest information that we need to access. One of the first things I want you to do is click the document settings and change our units to inches. Now you have to do that every single time on a drawing. I already have that done. In fact, I have my default settings to inches. So in the upper right hand corner you probably see your name, and if you go down to preferences, this is where you can change this permanently. So under unit and value display, if I come up here to change my precision, if you will, to 4 digits, probably defaults to 3, so I'm going to change that there. Another thing that you can do, it's not necessary, but it's really nice to change this to fraction. So I'm going to do that so any kind of measurement will show up in fractional. Okay, and then under default units, under design, here's where yours is probably set to millimeter. Set it to inches. All right, we're done with that. Hit OK. Over here, we're going to use this menu item quite a bit. We start here to left, and then as we go to the right, use these menu items, tools, if you will, less and less. Okay, over here is the data panel. I could hide the data panel and have bigger access to the drawing area, but I like to have it visible. Let's go ahead and create a new project. I already have some projects going, but let's start a new project and call this one our wood crafting project. Okay. Give that a second to fire up. Now that becomes the only project visible. All right. So let's go ahead and start drawing a part under the wood crafting project. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do is create a vertical spacer block and then a horizontal one. We start with two-dimensional geometry, and we got to start a sketch to do that. All right. To get anything started, we have to have a sketch. So kind of stay with the process here as we do things, kind of understand how we're doing them, and then how, again, Fusion works. So when I hit create sketch, it wants me to select a plane face. So what you see here is kind of the cube, so to speak, and which plane do you want to start? Usually very, very infrequent do I use one of these other planes. I use the front plane right here. Okay, so I am going to select, it changes gray. All right, and I am going to choose that one. You can see my cube rotates, so it just is on the front plane, and I'm going to draw. So I would say 99.9% of my sketches will be on the front plane. Okay, all right, so I'm going to use the rectangular tool here, the 2-point rectangular tool, and then click and drag out a rectangle. You can see I have all kinds of flexibility, and there is 2 input bars there, 2 input values, and you can see they're in fractions, but this first value is going to be 5 inches. In fact, we're going to make this taller than it is wide, so I'm going to put that value as 4, and then I am going to change the other value, and I'm going to use the tab key to get to that next box. That's really important. Okay, you can see if I did that with the mouse, you can see my part become distorted, and I'm going to change that to 1.5. So I can input decimals rather than fractions. Okay, hit enter. Here is my two-dimensional sketch. And then, of course, if I ever need to change, and this is what I want you to do, I want you to make this 5 inches. So I would double click on that value and then change it to 5, hit enter. And now there is my part. By the way, I am using a mouse, so anytime I click actually on the dial itself, I can then move and center. So you might want to get familiar with that. So this is really going to be awkward for you the first time. Okay, using the trackpad, so I suggest a mouse. All right, so I am going to finish my sketch, and again, it is out of the window. I'm going to drag it down using my dial and then drag. All right, so two-dimensional sketch here. I am going to make this three-dimensional now. All right, we're going to use the extrude. Okay. The value for my extrusion is going to be 0.75. That's going to end up really being the thickness of our material, 0.75 inches. You can see my extrusion, and again, this is almost always extrude, into or away from the sketch itself. Okay. All right. So 0.75. I'm going to hit enter. Our dialog box goes away. Hey, we got a spacer block here that is 5 inches tall by 1.5 inches wide. All right, so let's go take a look at what we have here in the browser. Since we have a three-dimensional part, we have a body now. So if I click on body, all right, now the body is the entire part itself. Now the sketch, you can see how it turned a different color here. That would be our two-dimensional geometry. All right, so it did create a couple different things. I'm going to kind of nest them right there in our browser. All right, so that really represents our vertical spacer block. So I'm going to hit save. All right, and then I'm going to call this vertical spacer. And then where do I want to put it? I'm going to drop this down and find my woodcrafting project and hit save. Now over here on our data panel, we should see this updated. I might have to double click on my woodcrafting project, and then sure enough, there's my vertical spacer block. Changed my name up here, and then I've changed the name here. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and create our horizontal spacer block. And again, same type of procedure. I'm going to create a new sketch, select the front plane, and then I'm going to create a rectangle, and this is going to be horizontal. Our values are going to be the same, so 1.5 for the height now, and then 5 for the width, and hit enter. And again, I use the tab key to get between those two. I'm going to finish that sketch and then extrude it, and 0.75. And I'm going to hit OK. All right, there it is. I'm going to save this now. And I'm going to call this horizontal spacer, and then hit save. And I should have two parts. Again, same type of procedure here. We should have a sketch 1 and a body 1. Okay, that really concludes. A couple things I want you to recognize here. I use the tab key to jump between those two-dimensional values. All right, that's really important. Another thing I want you to understand here as well is a mouse, and be able to use the left button, the center dial, and so on. As far as the trackpad, I'm going to teach using the mouse. Trackpad is very awkward. It's just really going to take some time to get used to, manipulating that part around using the trackpad. Okay, so with that, this concludes this drawing.